Hey there! Welcome back. Before we dive into tonight's chilling story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Trust me, YouTube loves that and will keep sending you scary stories like this one. Indonesia is full of ghost stories, mountains cloaked in mist and mystery. Some hikers vanish without a trace, others hear whispers after dark. Locals tell tales of spirits calling people off trail, never to return. Mount Pxxx is said to whisper to the living. Mount LXX is piled with offerings at its summit. Everyone's heard of the haunted paths of Mount XXX, but Mount Pxx? Supposedly different. Everyone told me it was the safest place to start. Beginner-friendly, not too steep, no dark history, no tales of accidents or curses, and most important, no ghost stories. The only advice people gave? Don't litter. Keep the mountain clean. I didn't litter. I followed every rule. When I hiked Mount Pxxx, the day was perfect. Clear skies, cool, thin air. Other hikers passed by, smiling. Some greeted me. Cuacanya bagus banget ya? Langitnya bersih? The weather's perfect, isn't it? Clear skies. I nodded, warmed by the friendliness. The climb wasn't easy, but reaching the summit felt like victory. A sea of clouds below, peaks rising like ancient crowns. The first light of dawn painted gold across the sky. I sat on a dry patch of grass. My legs ached in that rewarding way. I pulled out a soggy peanut butter sandwich and a warm thermos of coffee. Best meal I'd ever had. Nearby, hikers laughed, took selfies, played soft music. I took photos. My feet on the cliff edge, the mist, the blue sky. I even posted one. Made it to the top of Pxxx. Unreal view. I laid back on a flat rock, letting the sun warm my face. Then, everything changed. The warmth disappeared. I opened my eyes. The sun was still there. The sky still blue, but my skin had goosebumps. The air turned sharp. Cold. Wrong. I looked around. The hikers? Gone. No laughter, no music, no footsteps, just silence, thick, unnatural. Then came the fog, not rolling in from far away. It appeared, all at once, dense, surrounding everything. The sky, the trails, the tents swallowed. I stood up, called out. Nothing. Then I saw it, a narrow path, one I hadn't noticed before. It led downward, winding through crooked trees I swear weren't on this mountain. I should have stayed, waited, but standing still felt worse. I took a step, then another. I walked. The path was silent. No birds, no wind. The fog didn't clear. It clung to me, damp, cold. My steps felt heavy, my breath shallow. Then I saw movement. People, dozens, wearing clothes I'd only seen in museums. Kabaya, Lurik, Iket Kapala. Their outlines blurred, as if painted in watercolor. But their faces, those were real. Tired, confused. A woman with a shawl pointed at me, whispered. Others turned. They stared. A man stepped forward. Old, bent, eyes sharp. Sampeyan punika sinten. Nopo panjenengan saged mlebet mriki. Who are you? How did you enter here? I froze. Maaf, saya tidak mengerti. Sorry, I don't understand. They looked even more confused. Another man, younger, motioned for me to follow. He led me to a hut, wooden, weathered, roof sagging, walls patched. He spoke gently, motioned to the floor, the universal gesture for rest. I hesitated but stepped inside. The smell of jasmine drifted in, sweet, familiar, calming. He whispered, Sampeyan ngasa mawon rumiin benawake waras. Rest now so your body recovers. I nodded. He left. I lay down. But sleep never came. The jasmine scent grew heavier, then sour, then rotten. The air thickened, sweet, decayed, metallic. I gagged, my skin crawled, my head spun. I stood up, panicked. The door opened. He was there, but not the same. His skin, flaking, his eyes pits of red, his tongue, black, swollen, dragging, his grin, torn lips, cracked teeth. He hissed, Panjenengan boten dipun undang, panjenengan kedah dipun korbanakan. You're uninvited, you must be sacrificed. I ran. The forest twisted, figures emerged. Human once, now something else. Faces melting, mouths too wide, eyes blinking sideways. They whispered, shrieked. They chased me. Branches tore at my skin. Mud sucked at my feet. I grabbed a branch, swung, hit something, it screamed. I kept running. I collapsed in a clearing. An old man sat beneath a twisted tree, dignified, calm. He watched me. "You are not from here," he said. "You are the first to cross. That's why they fear you, why they want to erase you." I asked, "How do I leave?" He paused, then said, "Replace yourself with another, or wait for the fog to clear, or offer a sacrifice." None of the choices sounded like survival. They were coming. I hid inside a tree, curled in mud, bit my hand to stay silent. They passed by, breathing rot, twitching, searching. Then I saw her. A woman, human, real lost. Wearing red. She didn't belong here. And I had a choice. I waved. She saw me. She stepped forward. The fog cleared. I was out. She was in. The forest returned to normal. Sunlight, birds, green. I ran. To the guard post. "Tolong ada wanita hilang." "She already came down," the guard said. "Signed the logbook. An hour ago." I checked. She hand. "Weren't you supposed to be out of town?" I called my cousin. "Kamu kemana?" Kata nenek kamu hilang seminggu lalu. "Sejak kapan aku sama nenek?" "Dari seminggu lalu. Jangan bercanda." A week? To them I never disappeared. I went home, but something had taken my place. No one noticed. And the path? Still there, somewhere. Waiting for the next person to step wrong. The fog never truly leaves, and neither do the ones who walked into it. Even if they come back, they don't return alone. Have you ever entered a place that felt off? Not cursed, not haunted, just wrong. Like the walls were watching. Like the air had witnessed things no one should see. Like the building itself was quietly holding its breath, waiting. Some places aren't made for people. They're made to feed on them. That's how I explain what happened to me during the worst job I ever took. It started with a night shift at a quiet restaurant on the edge of nowhere, deep in Utah, where the road turns dusty and cell signals vanish. The kind of place that disappears from maps and memory alike. I was broke. Really broke. The kind of broke where your stomach makes more noise than your phone, and your fridge looks like an empty closet with just a bottle of expired ketchup holding down the shelf. My car had died on a nameless road, and rent was breathing down my neck. Then I saw the ad. Plain, cold, almost too simple to be real. Night shift help needed, start tonight, no experience necessary. No interview, no qualifications, just show up. Red flags? 100. But hunger makes you do things you wouldn't consider in daylight. I called. A man answered. "Doug," he said. His voice, it felt like he was reading a bedtime story to a wall. Flat, cold, distant. "Come at midnight," Doug said. "We'll show you around. Wear black shoes. No logos." Click. That was it. No address confirmation, no job title, just instructions and a dial tone. Midnight came fast. I followed the vague directions to a stretch of road that hadn't seen headlights in weeks. There it stood, the restaurant, alone, flickering, buzzing under a dying sign. The logo, half-lit, barely holding on. The lot was empty, the building too quiet. I stepped inside. No sound, no welcome. Just cold, not AC cold, not fridge cold, a deeper kind of cold, the kind that reaches through your jacket and settles behind your ribs. And there he was, Doug. Mid-50s, pale, thin, like someone had erased all expression from his face and forgot to put it back. He handed me a sheet of paper, no words spoken. I looked at the bold heading, Rules for the Night Shift. Then Doug spoke. "Read it, learn it, break a rule, and you're done." There were 7 rules. Never open the drive-through window after 1:11 a.m. No exceptions. If the fryer dings more than twice in a row, unplug it. Do not check inside. If a customer knocks on the lobby door between 2 and 2:15 a.m., ignore them. The ice cream machine cleans itself at 3 a.m. Do not interrupt. If you hear crying near the mop sink, turn the radio to static. Between 3:33 and 3:44 a.m., avoid looking into mirrors. Never enter the play area. I let out a nervous chuckle. Doug didn't. His face stayed blank. This isn't a joke, he said. And with that he turned and vanished into the kitchen. I hadn't even clocked in. But I already knew this job wasn't just a job. It was something else, a test or a trap, and I had just walked straight into it. I didn't sleep after that first shift. I didn't eat. I just sat on my floor, knees hugged to my chest, staring at that greasy piece of paper like it was scripture. The rules, the commandments of survival, and the one I hadn't broken had nearly broken me instead. Rule 1. Never open the drive-through window after 1:11 a.m. No exceptions. I didn't open it, but I listened. I heard it, and it knew my name. It was Saturday night when I went back. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself no amount of desperation could justify walking into that place again. But desperation has a way of sounding like logic when you're broke enough, so I went. Doug was already inside. He always was. Same paper skin, same stiff stare. He handed me the envelope from the first shift. It was thick, too thick. I didn't ask questions. He said, "Same rules, don't die." That was the closest he'd ever come to a joke. Midnight. I clocked in, read the rules again, word for word. But something had changed. Beneath the original 7, someone had written in red ink, "If the window speaks your name, cover all reflective surfaces. Do not answer." That wasn't there before. And I hadn't told anyone my name. 1 a.m. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed like insects in my skull. I busied myself restocking sauces, hoping the fryer would behave, hoping the ice cream machine would stay dead, hoping nothing would need a rule. But hope is useless in that place. At 1:08 a.m., the air shifted, heavier, denser, like it was watching me breathe and counting how many I had left. Tap. Not a knock this time, a single tap, delicate, intentional, like a fingertip saying, "I'm still here." Won the 10. Another tap. This one dragged, like a nail across the glass. Then a voice. Soft, sweet. Alex. My name. No one knew it. Not here. Not Doug. Not the pay envelope. No ID was shown. No forms filled. "Alex," it repeated, this time warmer. "We missed you." My knees buckled. I staggered back. The fryer hissed. The ice cream machine moaned from somewhere deep within. The whole place felt alive. The paper said, "Cover all reflective surfaces." I grabbed napkins, sauce trays, trash bags, anything I could find. I covered the fryer, the warming bin, the soda machine. Then the mirrors, the window, the order screen. It kept speaking, like a lullaby soaked in malice. "Alex, we remember you." I screamed, but it came out dry. Nothing left to scream with. Just breath and terror. Then the window fogged up. A finger traced a heart shape. Inside it, one word: home. I locked myself in the freezer. Not smart, not warm, but the only place with no windows. The voice didn't follow, but it laughed. Not outside, inside, like my brain had picked it up like a radio signal. I stayed in there until 2 a.m. Then came Rule 3. Knocking. This time on the front door. Not sharp, not loud. Polite. I crept out of the freezer, wrapped in frost and dread. The window voice was gone, but something else had taken its place. A woman. Blonde. Pale. Pressing her hands against the glass. "Please," she said, "I just need to use the phone." Rule 3. Ignore anyone at the front door between 2 and 2:15 a.m. "My car broke down," she continued. "It's freezing. I can see you." She could. I'd forgotten to duck. She smiled. Then she said it. I ran. I hid in the dry storage, smell of onions, cardboard and bleach surrounding me like a coffin. My breath turned visible. The heat had left the building. For 15 minutes she stayed. I heard her pacing, tapping, scratching. Then came silence. Then the smell. Burnt sugar and something else, like skin on a hot pan. At 2:16 I emerged. The lobby was empty, the doors still locked, but on the window, fingerprints. Too many, upside down, sideways. Inhuman. I scrubbed until my hands bled. That was night 2, and I learned something. Some rules aren't just instructions. They're warnings for when the rules start learning you back. Next shift I brought tape, foil, paint, covered every reflective surface I could find, because I knew what was coming. They say silence is golden, but that night, silence felt like a trap. After the encounter with the voice outside the lobby door, I didn't know how much more I could take. I was running on fumes, mentally and physically. My thoughts were knotted, my breath shallow, but I had one lifeline left, the rules. I clung to them like scripture. When I stepped out of the restroom, the fluorescent lights buzzed just a little louder than before. The air smelled faintly of burnt oil and bleach. My shift wasn't over, and my gut told me the next test was close. I glanced toward the fryer. It sat still, innocent, shiny stainless steel, silent. Then ding! I flinched so hard I nearly dropped the mop I was holding. One ding. I stared at it, unmoving. Ding! 2. I held my breath. Ding. 3. Too many. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. Rule 2 flashed like a red warning light in my mind. If the fryer dings more than twice in a row, unplug it. Wait 5 minutes. Do not check inside. I dropped the mop and rushed toward it. My fingers trembled, barely gripping the thick plug. The fryer hissed like it knew I was coming. I yanked the cord out. The hum stopped. Silence fell, but the smell, oh God, the smell, something scorched. Something sickly sweet, like burnt sugar mixed with rotting meat. I gagged, hand over my nose, my eyes watered. Whatever was in that fryer, it wasn't food, and I was not going to look. I backed away, counted out loud to steady my breath. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. By the time I hit 5 minutes, I plugged it back in with a prayer under my breath. The fryer sparked once, then purred like nothing had happened. I didn't dare lift the lid. I didn't even clean the counter around it. I just stood back and stared, wondering what could make a fryer ding like that. What could crawl inside? What had been cooked that didn't belong on any menu? The smell faded slowly, but it left behind a stain in my mind, a ghost of something charred and wrong. I checked the clock. 2:55 a.m. 5 minutes until the next rule. Rule 4. Something about the ice cream machine. For a moment I considered walking out, just grabbing my coat, stepping into the night, and never looking back. But I didn't, because deep down I knew it wouldn't let me go. None of this would. I poured myself a stale soda, sat on the edge of the dry sink, and waited for 3 a.m. Because in this place, time wasn't a blessing. It was a countdown. And the fryer? The fryer was just the beginning. I'd been working the night shift for about a week now. My nerves were frayed, my sleep patterns ruined, but somehow I was still coming back. Rule after rule I'd managed to survive, but Rule 7 still loomed like a storm cloud I refused to stand beneath. Never, ever go into the play place after midnight. I don't care what you hear. So far I hadn't gone near it, but that didn't mean it hadn't come near me. Every night I heard it. Not just the laughter, that sickly echoing giggle, but shifting plastic, the rustle of netting, the slap of rubber soles on molded floors, and worse, the whispering. It started innocently enough. Come play with me. Soft, childlike, not threatening. But that was the trap. It sounded like something you'd want to protect, something harmless. But instinct screamed otherwise. It wasn't human. It was a voice shaped to trick the human part of me. One night I was stocking buns. We kept them in a deep drawer under the sandwich prep station. Nothing fancy, just long rows of pale yellow bread wrapped in plastic. I'd opened the drawer and started stacking when I noticed it. Blood. Not ketchup, not dye. Blood. It was pooled at the bottom of the drawer, but soaking into the plastic like the buns had been bleeding. My stomach turned as I lifted one of them. The underside was saturated, red, wet. I dropped it. My gloves stuck. They made a squelch sound when I pulled them off. Rule 8 hadn't been written down yet, but I learned it that night. If the buns bleed, throw them all away. Do not serve them. Do not taste them. I double-bagged the entire drawer and took it to the dumpster. The bag moved while I was carrying it, like something inside was trying to get out. I didn't stop to check. I tossed it, slammed the lid, and backed away. From the shadows behind the dumpster, I swear I saw movement. Not something in the shadows. The shadows themselves. The loading dock test. Doug wasn't there that night. Instead, a woman named Karen showed up to supervise. Same dead eyes, same emotionless tone, but her presence threw me off. I didn't know how to read her yet. Karen handed me a clipboard. Inventory check. Walk-in freezer. Loading dock. Paper goods. I didn't want to go near the walk-in freezer. The last time I'd been there, the nugget box had breathed. But orders were orders. I started with the freezer. Everything looked normal, cold, metallic, boxes stacked high. I counted the cases and marked them off. Then something caught my eye. A note, taped to the back wall, written in grease pencil, barely legible. If the lights go out, don't breathe. They can smell breath. That's all it said. I didn't understand it until the lights did go out. All at once, complete darkness, no flicker, no warning, just off. I froze. I held my breath. Something heavy thudded against the floor. A dragging sound followed, slow, wet, then a voice right behind me. Not a whisper, a wheeze. Found you. I nearly passed out, but the lights snapped back on. The freezer was empty, silent, no sign of anyone else. I left without finishing the count. When I returned to Karen, she didn't ask for the clipboard, didn't even look at it. She just nodded once and said, "You passed." Passed what? Another test? Another layer of whatever this job really was? The eyes in the fry bin. I was restocking fries, bent over, shoveling frozen sticks into the metal tray when I saw it, reflected in the fryer hood above me, not behind me, inside the reflection. Eyes. Not human eyes. Not animal eyes. Something else. They blinked, sideways. I looked up. Nothing there. The fry bin was empty, the reflection gone. But I couldn't shake the feeling something had seen me, marked me. I was beginning to understand this place had layers. It wasn't just haunted, it was sentient. And worse, it was hungry. The customer that wasn't 4 a.m. A man walked in. That shouldn't have been possible. The doors were locked. I had checked them myself. He didn't walk up to the counter. He just stood in the middle of the restaurant, head down. Not moving. He wore a business suit soaked from the chest down. Not wet. Soaked. His hands hung limp. His shoes dripped. "Sir?" I said. No response. Then, as I moved around the counter, he snapped his head up. Eyes black, not dark. Black, and he smiled. Not at me, at the ceiling. "I know you see me," he whispered. I'm real, I'm real." Then he vanished, not ran, not walked. Gone. No fade. No trace. Just a silence that folded over itself. I found a new rule taped to the microwave later that night. If someone appears after 4 a.m. and insists they're real, ignore them. They are not. They want to be. Something the girl with no name. I didn't show up the next night. You might think that was smart, logical, human. But logic doesn't have much gravity when you've been pulled into something deeper than survival. Something that doesn't want you to leave. I tried. Really, I did. I told myself, one night was enough. That place isn't real. It's a waking nightmare. But nightmares fade. This one didn't. I dreamt of the play place, of the reflection in the mirror that smiled without me, of cold buns that bled when I bit into them, of voices outside the drive-thru whispering with my mother's voice. Every night I didn't go back, I felt worse, sicker, like something inside me was breaking down, cell by cell, like I was detoxing from a poison I didn't know I'd swallowed. So, 5 nights later, I went back. Doug didn't say anything when I walked in, just handed me the list. It was now 31 rules long. "Read it," he said. "Some of them changed." He didn't look surprised to see me again. I scanned the paper. Rule 29 was new. Rule 29. If you see a girl in the dining area wearing a red dress and no name tag, ask her one question. Where did you leave it? If she answers, do not respond. Just walk away. If she stays silent, run. What kind of rule was that? The clock ticked past midnight. The restaurant sighed to life like a creature stretching in the dark. The fryer hissed. The radio buzzed with faint static. The freezer door gave one soft creak, just enough to say I'm still here. I kept busy, focused, organized sauces, counted cups, wiped everything twice. I knew that as long as I kept moving, the fear couldn't grip me. That worked until 2:47 a.m. I was mopping near the dining area when I saw her. A girl, maybe 17, pale skin, long black hair tied in ribbons, a red dress, vivid, too clean for this place. But no name tag. She sat at a booth near the window, hands folded, staring, not out the window, not at me, just straight ahead. Rule 29 came rushing back. If you see a girl in the dining area wearing a red dress and no name tag, ask her one question. Where did you leave it? I swallowed the lump in my throat. Walked over slowly. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. She looked like a porcelain doll carved by someone who'd only heard about emotions, not felt them. My voice cracked when I asked, where did you leave it? She looked at me, eyes like wells, and she said quietly, in the freezer. Rule 29, if she answers, do not respond. Just walk away. I did exactly that, turned, walked, tried not to run. But she stood. Chairs screeched behind me as she pushed them aside. I felt her presence follow, not footsteps, just presence, like a cold breath against the back of your soul. I turned a corner too fast, slipped, landed hard on my side. Pain shot up my ribs. I didn't look back, just scrambled to the mop sink room, the one with the radio, and slammed the door shut. I turned the dial to static. Because that always helped, right? Wrong. Through the thin wall, I heard her whisper. That wasn't the right question. My stomach turned. There was another knock. 3 taps on the door, delicate, fingernail light, then silence. I waited. Minutes, hours, who knows. Eventually, I opened the door. The hallway was empty. But the rule list had changed again. Doug must have updated it. Rule 29 now read, if you see a girl in red with no name tag, don't speak at all. Don't look at her. Don't acknowledge her. Forget you ever saw her. Great. Too late for that. So now I knew the rules weren't just rules. They adapted, reacted. They were learning from us. And the restaurant? It wasn't static. It was alive. Next part, I was about to learn what happens when someone else breaks the rules. And the girl in red? She wasn't done with me. Agar aapko is part ke. It had been a week since I survived my first shift. 7 nights, 27 rules, and every single one burned into my memory like hot iron. But last night, something changed. There was a new rule taped to the wall when I arrived. It was handwritten this time. Crooked letters, like someone scribbled it in a hurry or with shaking hands. Rule 28. If you see the girl in the red dress after 4 a.m., do not speak to her. Do not follow her. Do not let her see you leave. No explanation, no warnings, just those 3 lines and a shaky strip of tape holding it to the break room wall. Doug didn't say anything about it when he walked in. He never does anymore. Just hands over the time card, nods, and disappears into the freezer like he's hiding from something. At 3:55 a.m., the restaurant felt heavier than usual. The lights flickered. The place made no sound, but felt alive. And the air smelled like something sweet, but spoiled. Like perfume left open too long, mixed with old sugar. I checked the cameras, empty. The fryer was silent. The mop sink was quiet. The drive-through screen showed nothing but black static, as always. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from somewhere just out of view. At exactly 4:01 a.m., the lobby bell dinged. That's impossible. Nobody can get in after 1 a.m. The doors auto-lock. The alarms are armed. We don't even keep keys inside anymore. I peeked over the counter and froze. She was standing there, a girl, maybe 12 or 13, long black hair, pale skin that looked powdered, and that red dress, bright, elegant, like something worn to a ballroom decades ago. She wasn't wet, wasn't dirty, no signs of entry, just standing, still not blinking. Her eyes too wide, too black, like twin voids behind glass. She looked at the menu overhead, then tilted her head slightly, almost curious, as if she hadn't seen food in years or didn't recognize it anymore. I backed away, heart pounding. Rule 28, do not speak to her, do not follow her, do not let her see you leave. I ducked behind the counter, breathing slow, shallow, trying not to make a sound. And then I heard it. Excuse me. Her voice, soft, childlike, polite. Exactly what you'd expect from a sweet little girl asking for help. But there was something behind it, a tension, a hiss, like her throat didn't want to speak, but something was forcing it to. I closed my eyes, held still. She stepped forward. I could hear her shoes now, heels? No, hooves. Click, 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 like polished bone on tile. I stayed hidden. She walked to the register, waited, then spoke again. I'm hungry. Can I have something to eat, please? I clenched my fists, bit my tongue, didn't respond. She sighed. I know you're here. Silence. If you're nice, I'll let you leave. I pressed my back against the ice cream freezer, trembling. Click, click, click. She was walking again, toward the supply room. I realized I'd left the back door unlocked. I crept across the kitchen like a shadow, heart in my throat, and locked it just before the handle turned. A second later, I saw her face through the porthole window. She wasn't angry, she was smiling, but not a child's smile. A knowing smile, a waiting smile. Then she whispered something, too soft to hear, but I felt it, like her words slid under my skin instead of into my ears. She stepped back and vanished, not walked, not ran, just gone. I didn't sleep that day. I didn't eat. I just stared at the handwritten rule on the wall and wondered, who wrote it? Who broke it first, and what happened to them? Because the girl in the red dress? She's still out there. And I know she saw me. I know she's waiting, and next time she might not ask so politely. I always thought Doug was just weird, pale, distant, spoke like every word was borrowed. He'd show up right at 6 a.m. every morning, like clockwork, hand over the shift schedule and disappear into the freezer, sometimes for hours. I figured he was hiding, maybe afraid, maybe worse. But last night, Doug didn't leave. He stayed, and I finally saw what a manager's shift really meant. The night started with a new rule, Rule 29. If Doug puts on the red visor, do not speak to him until sunrise. Weird, sure, but not the strangest thing I've seen. At 11:58 p.m., Doug walked in like usual, only this time he was carrying something in a black plastic bag, heavy, leaking. He didn't speak, just nodded, then walked behind the grill line. At 12:10 a.m., I heard the walk-in freezer door open, then slam shut 3 times, followed by a low, wet dragging noise across the tile. I didn't ask, because at 12:30 I saw it. Doug, in the lobby, wearing a red plastic manager's visor. His posture? Different. Taller. Stiff. His arms didn't move when he walked. His legs didn't bend. He shuffled like a puppet whose strings were pulled wrong, and his face blank, no eyes, just smooth skin where they should have been. Like clay, like something erased him. He walked into the play place. I froze. Rule 7 flashed in my brain like a neon warning. Never ever go into the play place after midnight. But Doug just walked in. No hesitation, no fear. The plastic tunnels swallowed him whole. And then, the screams. They didn't sound human. They didn't sound like Doug. They sounded like something mimicking pain. A creature trying to remember how people sounded when they suffered. And then, silence. The kind that hurts your ears. At 3 a.m., the door to the play place opened. Doug walked out, still wearing the visor, but his shirt drenched, his hands shaking, his shoes gone. He didn't speak, just walked past me, into the freezer. The door clicked shut, and that was it. No explanation, Just the quiet knowledge that whatever lives inside the place talks to him, maybe commands him, or maybe, just maybe, he's the only one who understands it. When I checked the schedule taped to the backroom wall, I noticed something scratched into the corner with a pen. Only the manager may feed the tunnels. I stared at that line for a long time, and I realized something. Doug doesn't manage this place. The place manages him, and someday it might manage me too. I didn't sleep after that first shift. I didn't eat. I just sat on my floor, knees hugged to my chest, staring at that greasy piece of paper like it was scripture. The rules, the commandments of survival, and the one I hadn't broken had nearly broken me instead. The next night, when I arrived back at the restaurant, something was different. Not visibly, not even audibly. It was like the molecules in the air had been rearranged. The feeling you get when you step into a room right after someone's screamed but no one says a word about it. Doug handed me the same paper, the same font, but this time it had 9 rules. 2 new ones were typed at the bottom. Rule 8. If the manager's office door is open, close it. Do not look inside. Do not speak to what's inside. Rule 9. Never be the last to leave. If everyone else is gone, you were never supposed to be here. I stared at Doug. He didn't explain. He didn't blink. He just said, clock in. That night, the friar stayed quiet. No knocking on the glass, no voices pretending to be dead relatives, but something felt off. I noticed it when restocking sauces in the back. The freezer door was closed as always, but the temperature? Wrong. My skin prickled with heat, not cold. I pressed my hand to the metal. It was warm. Not burning, but wrong. Freezers don't warm up, not unless they're dying, or something's inside, pretending. I left it alone, didn't open it, didn't ask. At 3:70 a.m., the manager's office door creaked open on its own. I was across the kitchen, wiping down the prep counter when I heard the hinges squeal, a slow, painful sound like metal remembering something traumatic. The door had never been opened before. I stopped moving. Every part of me froze except my eyes. Inside the office, it was dark, not empty, just wrong, like the shadows inside weren't cast by anything. They just existed, self-made, self-sustaining. Something inside moved, a shape, hunched, breathing but without sound. I didn't see a face, I didn't see eyes, but it saw me. I knew because the air thinned, my lungs screamed. My mouth dried out in an instant like I'd just inhaled an entire desert. I remembered the rule, closed the door, didn't speak, didn't breathe. As soon as it clicked shut, the feeling lifted. Barely. And Doug? Nowhere. Not at the counter. Not in the kitchen. I wasn't sure if he'd left or if I'd just become the last one here. Rule 9 flashed in my head like a neon warning. Never be the last to leave. I ran to the dining area, checked every table, every booth, empty. I shouted into the back hallway. Silence. No echo. Just the feeling that my words hadn't landed, like the air swallowed them. I sprinted to the clock-out terminal. Then I heard it. The door chime. Soft, slow, deliberate. Not the beep of an entering customer. The chime they play for employees when the back door opens. Except I didn't open it, and I was the only one left. I turned, slowly. A shape stood in the kitchen right where Doug had been hours before. But it wasn't Doug. It wore the uniform, same name tag, same shoes, but its skin was waxy, smooth, like it had been poured in a mold, and its smile, constant, stretched. It didn't blink. It raised one hand and pointed directly at me, not accusingly, commandingly. I ran, didn't clock out, didn't shut off the lights. I just ran, straight out the front doors into the empty parking lot, gasping for breath. When I turned back, nothing was there. Just the flickering sign, the closed doors, the silence of early morning. I drove until the sun rose, and when I came back that night, Doug was there. As always. Same blank stare. He said, "You almost stayed too long." I asked, "What happens if I do?" Doug didn't answer, just handed me a fresh rule sheet. Now it had 10. It started like every other shift. The doors locked, the parking lot empty. Doug gone, silent as a whisper. Just me, the cameras, and the ever-growing list of rules. 27 now, some so strange I didn't even know what to expect. Rule 17. If the mop turns green, stop mopping and back away. Rule 24. If something taps from under the floor, do not stomp back. That's how they find you. But tonight, the paper was different. Old, crinkled. The words seemed like they were typed decades ago, stamped with fingerprints in something dark, dried, flaking, and a new line was added, handwritten. Rule 28. Do not open the employee locker with a yellow X, not for any reason. We didn't have yellow-marked lockers. At least, I thought we didn't. Curiosity is a terrible thing in this place, but so is ignorance. I checked the locker room, heart pounding, and there it was, at the far end. Locker 9. The paint was faded, rust crusted the handle, and someone, definitely not management, had marked a huge X in yellow chalk across the door. Thick and sloppy, like a warning, not a label. I backed away. Then the lights flickered. Not everywhere, just in the locker room. Like the place was telling me, you saw it. Now it sees you. The radio in the break room started crackling, even though I hadn't turned it on. A soft voice emerged. Childlike. Soft. Come open it. I left something inside for you. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just backed out and shut the door. Rule followed, for now. But that wasn't the end of it. At 2:11 a.m., just after I'd wiped down the counters, I found a single nugget box sitting on the prep table. I hadn't put it there, and it moved, just slightly. Just enough to make the cardboard shift. I leaned closer and I swear I heard it breathe. It inhaled like a paper lung, slow, wet, wrong. I grabbed gloves, wrapped it and bolted to the walk-in freezer, slammed it shut, and only then realized that was Rule 23. If the nugget box breathes, put it in the walk-in freezer. I stood there, heart racing, staring at the frost-bitten door. Inside, something thumped. Once, then twice. Then it stopped. The job wasn't just strange now, it was evolving. Reacting. Learning from me. Every time I passed a test, the restaurant gave me a harder one. Like it was grooming me, preparing me for something worse. And then the birthday clown came back. At 4:04 a.m., the camera in the lobby lit up. There he was. Full costume, oversized shoes, hat tilted sideways, a smile too wide even for cartoon standards. Waving. He didn't knock, didn't speak, just waved and held a single balloon. I didn't wave back. The balloon floated toward the glass and popped. He disappeared. I checked the camera again. Nothing. Just empty chairs and stale air. Doug showed up at 6 a.m. Same stare, same silence. He handed me an envelope, thicker than usual. Extra this week, he said. You followed the new ones. I nodded, still trembling. How many more? I asked. He looked at me. No emotion, no concern, just acceptance. As many as it takes, he said, and walked out. They say every rule has a reason, a history, a story soaked into the walls, whispered between the tiles, burned into the plastic of every faded chair. But Rule 7 was different. Never, ever go into the play place after midnight. I don't care what you hear. It wasn't just a rule, it was a warning, a final line in the sand. And tonight, I was going to cross it. The store was quiet, too quiet. Every shadow seemed to flinch when I moved. Every reflection shimmered like it knew I was going to break the only rule that really mattered. I stood in front of the playplace entrance. The coloured tubes twisted upward like veins beneath bruised skin. The plastic had dulled with age, but in the moonlight leaking through the high windows it shimmered, wet, pulsing, almost breathing. I took out the flashlight, I took a deep breath, and I stepped inside. The plastic tunnel swallowed me whole. The sound disappeared first. My footsteps made no echo. The flashlight flickered once, then stabilized, casting a narrow beam ahead. Everything was coated in a thin film of grease and something stickier. The tunnel stretched far longer than it should. The structure from the outside was maybe 20 feet long, but inside it coiled like a snake, spiraling deeper, tighter, and then the laughter started. Soft, distant, childlike. But it wasn't happy. It was mocking. I crawled faster. My radio, clipped to my belt, hissed static. I kept it that way. Rule 5 had taught me to trust static. It was my shield now. The tunnel turned sharply downward, too sharply, like a slide built by something that didn't understand physics or safety. And suddenly, unknown time, I landed in a ball pit, or what used to be one. The balls were deflated, sticky. Some were cracked open, revealing pulp and bone-like centers. The room was massive, bigger than the restaurant, bigger than any building should be. In the middle stood a carousel made of melted plastic and human limbs, spinning slowly, playing a tune I couldn't place, until I realized it was the ice cream machine's cleaning cycle, slowed and reversed. Figures danced around it. Children, but not really. Their faces were wrong, sketched on too flat, too wide-eyed. Their arms jerked like marionettes. One turned and looked at me, its mouth open sideways. "Welcome home," I backed up, only to feel hands on my shoulders. Doug. No, not Doug. Something that wore his shape like a costume. The eyes were black pits. The mouth didn't move when it spoke. "You made it," he said. "You broke the final rule." I tried to run, but the floor wasn't solid. It pulsed, gripped my legs like soft concrete. "You always were curious," it said. "That's why we chose you." The fake children circled me now. Singing, we all screamed for the ice cream man. Then the lights went out. I woke up in the supply closet. On my chest was the rule sheet, a new one, 38 rules now. The top was highlighted in red. Never go into the play place after midnight. You already did. Now, remember your job. Doug was there. Real Doug? He looked normal, like nothing had happened. "Welcome back," he said, handing me an envelope. "You're promoted." What does that mean? He smiled. "For the first time ever, it means you're part of it now." 6 a.m. I walked outside. The sun was rising. Birds chirped. A breeze carried the scent of fresh fries and something else. Sweet, sour, like rot wrapped in cotton candy. My car was working again. No one believed me when I told them, so I stopped telling the story. But sometimes, when I sleep, I hear it. The play place, calling, begging, waiting for someone else to break the rules. And one day they will. Because this place never stops feeding. It just waits for the next person desperate enough to take a night shift that shouldn't exist. The end.